All right. So looks like we've got everybody in here. Some people may join in the future, but just for a quick recap, right, of what we're doing today, this is going to be the mobile app train of Outfield. Kind of just like a quick understanding of how our mobile app works. Of course, if you are seeing my screen here, we're looking at Mike Wheeler. If he looks familiar, he is from the Stranger Things t TV show from Netflix. And we'll be looking at, his day-to-day, what he is going to use on the Outfield mobile app. For some extra context, his team sells frozen waffles to gas stations, grocery stores, and convenience stores. And of course, this isn't the first page of Outfield. And during this call, right, when I explain some terms in Outfield, I will try to use other terms from other industries just so everybody here can kind of get a quick understanding of how everything works. So this isn't the first page of Outfield. It is not your profile picture. I'm going to click X out of it. And by default, right, the first page of Outfield app, what it opens up to is going to be our places page. Now, what is a place inside of Outfield? It's going to be an account that you will be visiting for me, right? This will be my list of grocery stores, gas stations, right? You might also have grocery stores that you're visiting, could be doctor's offices, right? Hospitals, construction zones. Really, a place is going to be an account that you will be visiting. And we have a few different ways that we can order your places. First off, we will order them alphabetically by name, so numerical first, then A through Z. But as you see here near the top, we can also order by state and by city as well. Now, something that remains the same no matter what order I'm actually looking at are my top three accounts. These are by nearby places. Outfield is just going to grab where you currently are and just present to you the three closest accounts for you in case somebody cancels on you last minute, you've got some time between visits, or if you finish a visit extra early, you can see which other places are near you. Now, this is just the list view we're looking at. Once you move around the list a little bit, you'll see these two buttons appear. We're going to explore our map view first, the button down here at the bottom right. And when I click on it, it is going to present your places as all of these blue pins. Of course, if you see a number like my 11 here, you have to zoom in to kind of have your places show individually as these pins. Now, from here, you can actually tap on the pins to get the name. This is my Bex Prime, my Courtyard, and over here is an HEB Plus. And if I actually zoom in further and further on this, you'll actually see that there is a little blue circle on my screen right beneath my pin. So this blue circle is going to be the location of my HEB Plus, or not my HEB Plus, but of your current location. So you'll be able to see where you currently are in relation to some of your nearby accounts as well. And there are a few different things that you can do to your places page, either on the list view or the map view. First off is applying a filter. It is kind of near the top right of my screen, looks like a funnel or a golf tee, but when you click on it, it's going to open up our sidebar. It's called colorize, but really it is a filter that is going to colorize our pins depending on what filter we select. So on our top one here is we have last activity. Now this one is going to be a blanket term when it comes to Outfield and what you can do with your accounts. We have 8 different types of activities. So this is just telling you when was the last thing anything has been done. Moving down below here is last touch point. This will narrow things down just a little bit. A touch point is actually a form of communication which has 4 different activities. These will be our check-ins, our phone calls, our text messaging, and emails as well. And as you just saw me, right, you're able to colorize by our individual touch points too. Now, some of our bottom options will be by progress deal. This is just letting you know when a deal instead of Outfield was last updated. We have when your last form was completed, and you'll be able to select which form you want to select. We have by what deal stage the account is currently in. And of course, it's going to have your list of deal stages. And at the bottom here is by custom fields. This is going to be our unique identifiers, either as a custom field or our more updated version as a default field, but they're both unique identifiers and you can colorize by those as well. For today, let's choose last activity, right? I'm going to tap on it, click apply at the top right. That is going to kind of refresh my map. I have to zoom in here, and you'll notice we have my pins in different colors. We've got blues, grays, whites. Let's see if we can find a few other colors around here. If not, our final colors will be in oranges and reds. Now, just looking at this, those colors don't really tell me much. To kind of understand what these colors mean, just open back up our filters page and scroll down the sidebar where we have the legend. So now I can take a look at this and see my blue pins are the accounts I've hit within the week. Oranges are 1 to 4 weeks, reds are 1 to 3 months, grays are over 3 months, and then whites will be accounts we've never been to quite yet. So this is going to be a great way to kind of make sure that you are visiting your accounts on a regular cadence. You can see which accounts you haven't visited in a while and which accounts you've already visited recently. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just remove my filters and I want to show you the three ways that you can add places. It's going to be the plus button next to our filters button here. And we'll get three options. We're going to go bottom up with add place manually. This is the good old-fashioned way to create places. There's a lot of fields here. Now, when it comes to a place, all we need is the name and the address information, street address to, and country will be optional. But from here on out, right, everything else is going to be optional. Phone number, emails, websites. This is contact information about your place and anything with the star, right? These are going to be my default fields, which are those unique identifiers. And of course, those are going to be made by the administrators on your team. You can apply these here. However, if you don't have that information, right, that's completely fine. As long as you have the name and address information, your place will be saved correctly and you'd be able to come back in at a later date to, edit your accounts. Now, once you're done filling out some information, we will have the two options up here at the top right. And these two options will apply to any way you try to create a place, but it is called check-in or save. Clicking on save is, of course, going to save your place into Outfield, but clicking on check in, it's going to save the place, but it's going to start a check in process. Now, for a check in, it's going to assume you're at the account, right? You're staying outside of it, ready to do your visit. So if you're not quite ready yet to stop in, you can just save it for right now and you can conduct a check in later on. Let's go back into our places page, and our second option to add a place is called add place by dragging a map pin. This is going to give you actually a red pin on your location, but you can freely move this around to wherever you want. So in case you were driving on the road, you saw an account you wanted to add, but of course, right, since you're driving on the road, you can't add it in. Once you get into a good stopping point, you're able to use this option here and move the red pin to wherever you saw the place. So let's say Mike Wheeler saw this Whataburger. I drop my pin here, click on select place at the bottom, and as you can see, it's going to start filling out some information for me. Most notably, the address will be filled out for me. The name, as you can see, is the name of my street, address one. So I will have to change it out. But once I change out the name, I can just save my place already, right? Everything else is optional. If you have the information, great. You can already throw that in. If you don't have it, throw it in at a later date. And of course, check in and save are your two options. Now, our last option here is definitely our most powerful. It is called our prospect for places. This is essentially a Google search, right? It's going to look like this. We have the search bar. This is where you can begin searching for some of your accounts. For Mike Wheeler, I'm going to type in a grocery store. And I click on the search button here and it's going to pull up some grocery stores near me. So this is what Google has brought to me for any accounts called a grocery store. And a great thing about this prospecting tool is that by default, it does look around you. But if you're trying to prospect in a different area, you can always move your map and the button at the top of it. If you tap on it, this would allow you to look in that new area instead. And from here, there are two ways to add your places. You can either click on the pin, so where it says Katie Halal Meat and Restaurant, and it tells me to tap to add place, or I find the place on my list. These are just both the same exact accounts. It's just showing you on the map or showing you on the list view, but I tap in on Katie Halal Meat and Restaurant. And from here, we've got all the information I need filled out. I've got the name, I've got the address info here, phone number, emails, and websites can be provided. But the only thing that our prospecting tool can't fill out for you are your default fields because those are your unique identifiers. So of course, Outfield doesn't know how to apply them. But once you're done, right, check in and save. Those options will always be there for you. So the next thing I want to cover is our route planner. It's the blue button down here at the bottom left. Now, when I click on it, it takes me to this page. This is because I have a route already saved. However, if you don't have a route saved, it will take you to a blank page and it will prompt you to hit a plus button near the top right of the screen. Now, when you do, it will take you into this page here, where you're given 2 points, your start and your end point. By default, they're both at your current location. However, you can change this around. So you can start at your house, end up at your office, start at a restaurant, right, and back up at your house. You're able to customize these. But let's go ahead. Let's start throwing some places into my route. We got a few different options. The first one is this add stop button down here at the bottom left, where it will pull up your list of your places. From here, you can just, tap on them and check them off. So let's say Mike Wheeler today has to go to his HEBs. I tap on them. I click done at the top right. That will take me back into my list where my places are here on my route. Now with this list view, we've got a map view as well. It's in the top center of my screen. When I tap on map view, of course, it's going to bring me to my map and my places are these pins here. And they are in two different colors. We have a red pins, right? And we have blue pins too. Now, red pins are places you have that aren't on your route, and blue pins are places you have that are on your route. From here on the map, you can actually tap on a pin to put it on your route. You can tap on a pin to take it off your route. However, if you don't really care where you're trying to go for the day, right, you're just trying to hit a general area, you can use our lasso tool located at the top right of the map here. Click on the lasso tool, having it when it gets highlighted blue, that's how you know it's activated. And pretty much any accounts that you circle around, Outfield is going to automatically grab and then throw it into your route. So if we go back into my list view, it has expanded. Now, the last way that you can add places to your route from this routing tool is from the Outfield calendar itself. It's the purple button near the bottom right. When I click on it, of course, it's going to pull up your Outfield calendar. Any calendar events that you create will appear here. Now, you'll notice on my dates, we have circles underneath them, and anything with the grayed out circle is going to let you know that it was a past day. Anything with the blue circle underneath it will let you know it's either the current day and you have a calendar event, or it's any future days. Now, a neat thing about the calendar event is that you are able to select past dates too. So in case you took a route and you really liked it and for this month you want to copy it again, you can go back in time and select when you made those calendar events. And all you do is you tap on the appropriate date. Let's say on the 11th, I click add to route at the top right. It will give me two options. I can either replace everything with my calendar event, or I can just add my calendar event to my route. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click the add button. As you can see, it has now appeared at the bottom. Now, some things you can do to your route before you actually go out there, start hitting the road is the red circles to the left of my accounts. I can tap on them and that would allow me to remove them. Or the three lines to the right of my accounts, I can click and hold and I'm able to kind of drag and drop it around to rearrange my list. And once you're ready to actually hit your road, right, you click the route button in the bottom left. That will take you to those accounts in the order you placed in. And if we see in the blue bar at the bottom, it's about 2 hours, 47 minutes, and about 120 miles of driving. If there are changes you want to make to your route, you can click edit at the top right. It will take you back into this page here. And there is a button I missed. It's called our optimize button. It has a little magic wand. But of course, you also have to save the best for last. And it's going to do exactly what the name says. It's going to optimize your route for you. I'm going to click on it, let it work its magic. And now we saved about 59 minutes and around 60 miles of driving too. Now, to be fair, I added in a bunch of random accounts. I put them in a random order. I would say more realistically, you'll see anywhere from 5 to 15, all the way up to 30 minutes per route saved, just because there are a few things we take into an account when we are optimizing your route. We'll take your start and end points, the location of your places. We'll take live traffic data, historic traffic data too, so we'll get you the best route for the current time. And once you're actually ready to hit these accounts, you just need to scroll up from the bottom here to expand your route and the go buttons to the right of the names. You tap on them and it will prompt you to open up a routing tool. I have Apple Maps installed, but this works with Google Maps and Waze too, so pick your poison. But this is kind of like the workflow. You click on the routing tool, it will route you to your account. Once you get there, you go back and set up Outfield where your route will still be here for you. And you just tap anywhere on the name. So I will click on my HEB plus here at the bottom, and it will take me into my specific account view. Now, of course, there are more than one way to get here. This isn't the only way you can get to this page. I'm going to back out here. The rest of the ways will be on our places page here. And there are two different ways. You can actually tap on the pin itself and then tap it on the name, or you find the place in your list and you click on the name. Now, before I actually dive into that, there is one last way you can add places into your route, and that's in your list view. Those three dots to the right of your names, you can tap on those and add them into the route. That will tie in directly into our search bar. So if I type in for HEB, it will pull up only my HEBs from here. I can add them into my route. And something useful, right, is going to be our advanced search button. It is to the right of my search bar. It has a gear icon with the magnifying glass. Clicking on that will pull up your advanced search. So this is going to restrict your search down to one attribute of the account. A good example is if you have an account that has the name East in it, right? When you search up East, normally it will pull that account up. But if there are any other accounts who is on a street name that has the word East in it, those accounts will be pulled up too. So the best way to kind of alleviate that is to use our restricted search, because when I click on restrict search to, I can now restrict it down to one part of the account. So I'm only looking for accounts with the name of East inside of it. And if you're trying to restrict it down even more, maybe you're looking for a zip code inside of a city, you can add another search criteria. This will open up another search where you once again restrict it down to a single attribute of your place. And how this works, this is going to be an and search. So I'm looking for accounts with the name East, and it's going to be in the city of Houston. As of right now, it is not an or search. But let's go ahead. Let's click on an account. I'm going to choose HEB Plus. It will take you to this page here. Now, for some of you, you may have a yellow box here. It may not be account called account number. This is one of my default fields I've marked as a priority. If you don't have any priority default fields, this yellow box won't appear, and you'll start off with the blue boxes. And this is where I actually want to start off with activities, right? I want to get you familiar with the types of activities we can do and be on the lookout for you to see exactly what activity occurred here. So my touch points, it is in a blue box. Pay attention to these colors, but I can see how many I've done, 277, how many ones I have upcoming, which is 132. And at the bottom of my blue box are my individual touch points too. From left to right, my icons are checking for pins, phone call for phone calls. We got a little mail icon for email. And of course, that text messaging icon is for my text messages. Moving on up is deals. Now, deals can be used in a variety of different ways. They're very customizable. So depending on what you do, your deals may look different than mine, but you're able to see how many deals have been done for the account, as well as the total value of your deals. For me, I've done 104 deals, and we have about 142,000 made from this account here are red boxes tasks. Now, a task is a to-do list that you create. So after you do a visit, maybe you got to make a follow-up for an email and you don't want to forget it, you can make it into a task. You'll see how many you've done and how many you have upcoming. And then last but not least is notes. This one is super straightforward. It's exactly what it sounds like. This is a quick sticky note you'd write down about the account. But beneath my activity overview here with these boxes, I have my activity feed for this account. This is chronological order, so the latest thing will always appear at the top. It will give you the time, the date, who did the activity. So my top one here is March 3rd, Mike Wheeler, HEB Plus, 12:15 p.m., right, for 0 hours and 0 minutes in Houston, Texas. And you'll know exactly what activities have occurred here is by looking at the bar. That's a blue bar that has to be a touch point. Looking to the right of my touch point is a white pin icon. This touch point has to be a check-in. My red bar has to be a task, right? I've got another check-in right beneath that. I've got deals coming through. So you can see, right, how you and your team may be using some of these activities inside of Outfield. Now, I want to actually go back up to my check-ins here because for 99% of, people who use Outfield, check-ins are going to be the most common activity you'll be doing. And within the check-in, right, you can throw in titles, notes. More importantly, you can fill out a form, which is going to be a list of questions that you'll be answering while you're conducting your visit. Could be a first-time visit, follow-up, events, tastings, right? All sorts of forms can be made. But to figure out what form you filled out, look near the bottom left of my check-in here where there's a document icon, says initial visit. That's how you know exactly what activity has occurred here. And to see my form results, right? This was done on March 3rd. Perhaps Mike Wheeler already forgot what he filled out. I can click on the three dots in the top right, and I can, view my check-in, see what I filled out. That's right. This HEB Plus is a grocery store. We've got every single competitor here. Poor customer satisfaction, average of 500 waffles a month. We didn't sample waffles, and there are no sales for other brands. I'm able to see exactly what Mike Wheeler has filled out previously. With that being said, let's go ahead. Let's jump into these activities. You'll find the activities between our boxes and the activity feeds, right? We're going to start off with check-ins, the bread and butter of Outfield. Now, when you tap it on check-in, it's going to start timing you just to see how long you were there for. And from here, there are a few things you can do. Of course, there is a title. You should throw in a title of your check-in so other people and yourself can see what you did. Notes, you can throw them in, after your visit. So I'm going to keep that portion blank. But here is something that's new inside of Outfield. It is called the Add Accounts button right beneath our notes. And this is really useful in case you do a check-in, but then you speak with one of your contacts at this place. When I tap on this button, it will pull up a list of the linked contacts to this place. So it's not going to be all your contacts. And from here, you're able to tap in on the contacts you spoke to. So I spoke to Jim, and let's say I spoke to Kelvin. I tap on them, I click done at the top right, and now you'll see they're in my additional accounts. Let's go out, fill out one of my forms, tap on select, and let's do my sampling form. From here, I select my appropriate form. You can select more than one form as well. But when I click on select, my questions will start populating. So what products did I give out? Let's say Mike Wheeler only gave out original waffles. How many did I give out? 0 to 10. And from here, I can write in my notes. I'll say sampled only original waffles. Now, once you're done with your check-in, there are some last few things you can do. First off is near the top right where the checkout button is. There's also a camera icon in case you need to take pictures of some things. But also to the right of my duration, right? It's timing me. I'm almost at 2 minutes, but there's an edit button next to it. This is in case you start a check-in late. You forgot to check in or you forgot to check out, right? We want to we want to make sure that our time is accurate. That allows me to click this edit button. This allows me to manually adjust my time. There's no way that Mike Wheeler could have went in and sampled those waffles in 2 minutes unless he just threw them at their faces. Let's hope he did it. But from here, I will manually adjust my time. Let's say he was there for 20 minutes. I click on done. My duration is no longer going to move. And once I'm ready, I can click on check out the top right. And this would ask me just to confirm my duration one last time. I click on confirm, and that is going to check me out. Now, one thing to note is that activities in Outfield, they do update pretty frequently. That top one we're seeing is the exact check-in that I just did. So from here, let's cover the rest of our touch points. It's phone call, text messaging, and emails. From phone call, we'll have three options, and I'm going to cover all three touch points at the same exact time because they all work in the same way. So for call, we see call and log a call. Text message is the tab next to it. Send text, send and log a text message. And then for email, which is its own separate button, is email, log and send an email, and log a sent email. You'll notice that all three options are the same exact ones, right? The only thing that changes is what type of communication we're doing. So our top option is always going to allow you just to do that form of communication, right? If you're on iOS, it's going to pull this up. On Android, you can select your app, but this is where you just write your email and you can send it. Our second option here is logging and sending. This would still pull up an email for you to fill out, but at the same time, it's going to have our email activity right beneath it. Now, unfortunately, this isn't going to kind of copy what you're typing in your email and kind of paste it in the background while you're writing your email out. But how some people use this is that they will copy the email, then paste it in here. Or for the email activity, they will just write down a quick, like a brief, kind of brief summary of the email they sent out. And then finally, our third way is just going to be logging it. It's assuming you sent it, right? You sent the email, made the phone call, did the text message, and you're just trying to throw it inside of Outfield. Now, this actually brings me up to a good portion I want to cover. It's backing out of an activity in case you didn't mean to start it. We have three options here, right? It's that back arrow at the top left. We can discard it. That's going to delete it. We can minimize it, which will turn it into a little icon down here at the bottom right. This allows me to, go through, view my past activities. I can go to the different pages of Outfield. That button will still be there for me. I tap in on it, and from here, I can continue it. Now, our last way of backing up an activity is saving it as a draft. This is going to move into its own separate page. So once I get to the drafts page, that's where I will kind of could cover it. So our last two activities here will be task and notes. A task, that's the to-do list. So let me write this in. So I tap on task. I would need to throw in the name. Let's say send a thank you email. The team member and the place are already pre-selected for me. Mike Wheeler, HEB plus. I don't need to touch those. But the due date, let's say before Mike Wheeler leaves his office today, I want to make that the due date. You can add reminders too. You can add as many reminders as you want. Now, they can be sent out within minutes, hours, days, or even weeks ahead of time. And you can receive them either as a push notification from the app or Outfield can send you an email out. And there's no shame in saying reminders, right? Just trying to make sure that we get our tasks done on time. So once you schedule your reminders, you click done at the top right. That will save them. And last but not least is notes. So I'll say thank them for their time. And once I am ready, I just click on save the top right, and that is going to save the task into Outfield. Now, something that you're going to notice is that my task doesn't appear in my activity feed quite yet. That's supposed to happen. You'll actually see in my task box, there's now one upcoming. So once I'm done with that task, I mark it off as complete. That's when it's going to update and appear as an activity. And then finally, last but not least, is going to be our notes. This one, there's not too much to cover. It's just a place where you can write down a quick note about the account. Now, this isn't to say, you should replace check-in with notes, but there's like any sudden changes, or if you share accounts with somebody and you just discovered something, you want them to be aware of it, you can write it down as a note instead. So with that being said, this only covers the first page of our, specific place view at the bottom here. We've got a whole bunch of other pages too. So here we have our calendar page. This allows you to see your calendar events for this account, or at the top right, the plus button allows you to create a calendar event for this account. So let me say that they want me to come back. They want to do another sampling. So that would be my title. Place your contacts pre-selected. I would need to choose my start time and end time. So let's say today from 3 to 4. That is when I should pop in for some sampling. And my notes will be, sample all waffles. And you'll notice that we have an all day toggle as well. So in case you don't care what time you get to the account, you just want to get there today, you can turn it all day as well. Now, when it comes to creating a calendar event, I do recommend to throw in title and notes. I mean, the more information you put into the calendar event, the more information you're going to get out of it when you actually go to start that calendar event. But once you're done, you click on save. That's going to save the place for you. Now, third up is going to be my deals page. Now, for deals, right? There's a, we work with a whole bunch of industries. They can all be used in a different way. It's very customizable. For me, right, I'm selling frozen waffles. Mine is built out like a standard sales process for a CPG. I've got my prospects, qualified leads, samples given, orders submitted, right, and so on and so forth. Each of these stages, there are deals in it, and these deals are associated to this account. I'm able to see the total amount in my deals. Like in deals closed, I've got 36,000. I've got the month to date, year to date. I've got the average for my deals, and I have my average time and stage. Really, what that last one means is just how long your deal stays in this stage before it moves on. Since it's already closed, right? Having an average time is 439 days is to be expected because we're not really updating this deal anymore. From here, it's going to show you a list of your deals in chronological order so you can see kind of all the deals happening. And some other things that I can do is, of course, I can throw in a deal. Now, traditionally, if HEB Plus was the first account I visited, I would click the plus button up here at the top right. I would name it. If you don't name it anything, it'll just default to the name of the account. I can throw in my money amount. Of course, if I visited for the first time, $0. And this is really important, is the stage. By default, it gets thrown into the very first stage of your pipeline, right? If that's not the case, maybe it was your first visit, but they already bought something from you. You want to make sure that it's in the appropriate stage. So just look out for this portion here. Team members selected for you. Lead contacts will be the contact for your deal here. This isn't required, but in case you want to throw in some extra information, you can. And then, of course, this will be the notes section of your deal. So I will just click on save here. As you can see, my deal has now appeared in my prospect stage. And let's say that I've now dropped off samples. What you don't want to do is make a new deal and then throw it into your sample stage, because if you look at it, somebody else looks at it, they might be confused. Why do we have a deal in the prospect stage and the samples given stage? You want to do something that's called a progression, where at the bottom here, bottom left of my deal is this change stage button. This allows me to move my stage manually to my samples given stage, and here it is. And of course, if there are like additional changes you want to make, you can click on the three dots. You can actually edit the deal, and this is where you can throw, edit some information around. So maybe we finally moved on for deals closed. I have a deal worth $1,000, and I will say, let's say 45 chocolate chip waffles. And that just allows me to click save, and it has moved into my deals close stage for my 45 chocolate chip waffles. Now, of course, right, if this customer already exists and they keep buying stuff from you, you don't have to make a deal in the prospects and start moving it. You can just automatically, when you make a new deal, throw it into the appropriate stage. So next page is goals. This is going to be account-based goals. We have two separate types of goals that you can see. Account-based goals are goals specifically for this account. You'll be able to see your progress. You can see, what even the goal is about. And down here at the bottom is going to be a little quote, so we will help motivate you. And the quote will change depending on your pace of completing the goal. Last but not least is our info page. This is just going to be the information of your place, right? We've got the name, address, phone number, emails, websites will be here as well. Our custom tab will show you our default fields, and our link contacts tab shows you the contacts linked to this place. And only on the info page at the top right are these three dots that you can tap on. From here, you can delete your place in case you don't need it anymore. You can edit the place to, of course, edit the information. But at the top is adding a linked contact. This is, of course, adding a new person and linking them to this place. And you have one or two different options. Your first way is finding the person in your list. Perhaps they move locations. They're now working at this HEB Plus. And if they're already inside of Outfield, you can just tap it on their name and throw them in. However, if it's somebody completely new, at the top here is this create new contact button, and this is where you go in to actually create your contact information. Now, for a contact, a lot of fields, right? Now, luckily, the only one we need is their name, but it's very helpful to have maybe their title, their phone number, their email address too. But once you're done filling out your contact information, you click on save. It will actually take you back into this page where your new contact is going to appear here. Make sure that they are checked off, and you click on save again, and that is going to make and save that contact for you. So moving on, I'm actually going to go back into my places page. And of course, if you have any unsubmitted drafts, it will let you know. But we're going to ignore that for now. And we're going to open up our sidebar, which is these three lines to the top left. That's how you know you can open up the sidebar. And we're going to cover contacts next. Now, luckily, functionality wise, a place and the contact are going to work the same, except, one's a account you'll go to, and then one's a person. For contacts, we've also got three ways of adding them in underneath the plus button. We can add a contact manually, which is the good old-fashioned way. We can add a contact through our phone. If you have a work phone, you can import them in, and we have scanned a business card, which will take a picture of a business card and fill out the fields for you. But everything that covered on the places page, you can do it on the contacts page as well. This is going to be activity wise, search wise, right? Except for the routing tool, those are going to be for these physical accounts you'll be visiting. From here, I'm going to click on one of my contacts. I will click on Dame here, and you'll notice how similar this looks to our places page. I mean, there are only a few differences, like our touch points box is purple instead of blue. Something to note is that when you do a touch point with a contact, it will not be a blue bar, it will be a purple bar instead, sort of just for visibility purposes, so you can see if this touch point was with the person or with the place. And the some of the few differences is that instead of the check-in button, it will be replaced for a meeting. This will function the same exact way. For a quick tip on like when to know when you should do a meeting or a check-in, even if I'm meeting Dame, if I'm meeting him at his location of where he works, I want to put that as a check-in because I can use the add accounts feature. However, if I'm meeting Dame, not at where he works. I want to do it as a meeting because remember, a check-in is assuming you're at that location. So I can click on a meeting instead if I'm meeting Dame, let's say at a trade show. That way, other people can see that I met with Dame, not at where he works. Over here, we've got this activity feed, and if you'll actually notice, this activity feed is actually the same type of activities I've been doing for my HEB Plus. So here's something cool. Activities you do to places will appear in their linked contacts, and activities you do with a linked contact will appear in their places. And then really the final thing I want to cover for a place and what's the main difference is that underneath our info page, you will see where your contact is linked to place-wise. And with the three dots at the top, you'd be able to link a place. Now, unfortunately, you can't create a place and then link it, so your place has to exist before linking it here. So I will now go bottom up, starting off with tasks. This allows you to see, right, what tasks you have scheduled. You'll have ones due for this week, future tasks, completed tasks, and then your list of overdue tasks in case you forgot to complete one. But finishing the task is super simple. Once you're done with it, you just click in on the circle. Of course, if there are changes or you want to actually view the task, you can view the task. You can go to the account the task is for. You can edit it and you can delete it. But once you're done with the task, just click in on the circle. It's going to check itself off and it's going to move into our completed tab here. Now, sometimes you might see this blue bar at the top that says sync in progress. This is in case syncing is a little bit slow. Maybe you have poor Wi-Fi connection, bad cell service. It will save the activity locally on your phone, then it's going to update into the server. But to add a new task from the task page, it's this plus button up here at the top right. Uh, all the fields are still there. There is one difference, however, is that a contact field is not filled out for you. This is Very important, but for a task, a place or a contact is not required. They are not going to be account based. If Mike Wheeler had a task to go to his office to pick up some frozen waffles, he's not going to have his office as a place in his CRM. So he would not need to select an account for a task here. Moving up is going to be our calendar page. This just allows me to see all the activities that I've done, as well as all the activities I have scheduled. And you'll know what activity you have scheduled is because there's going to be a start button to the right of my activity. So my initial visit, my sampling, those have the start button here. My sampling and my 3 deals that happen underneath it, these are not done. So there is a start button. And when I click on the start button, it is going to start that check-in process for me automatically. And you'll see that my title and my notes are both here as well. So this is the importance, right? When you're making a calendar event to throw in the title and notes, especially if it's super far ahead of time, just because when you throw this information in and you go in to start it, you'll know exactly what you have to do for the visit. And sometimes you don't have to even edit your notes. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill out my form here. I don't have to touch anything else. I click on checkout. That's going to finish my check-in for me. As you can see, my sampling calendar event, it's no longer an event and it's just an activity done. From this page, you can make calendar events as well with the plus button up here at the top right. Now, once again, everything is going to be the same way as when you're making a calendar event from the place itself. The only difference is that a place or a contact isn't selected for you. However, we do need a place or a contact selected for a calendar event to save properly. So if we don't select one, Outfield's not going to be able to create it, right? This is tied in directly to our check-ins. This is tied in directly to our routing tool. So we do need an account to tie the calendar event to as well. Moving on is our chatting feature, very similar to Slack or Microsoft Teams if you've used those before, where we will actually break down your chat in 2 different ways. We have channels. These are public group chats. Everybody can see and join them. But then we have private messages, which will be, private one-on-one chats. They can be private group chats. You can even privately message yourself in case you don't need to send a file, video over, picture. You just want to message yourself something, right? These are all things you can do inside of our chat. Now, whenever you are ready to start a chat or join a channel, you click the plus button at the top right. You'll get the option to add or join a channel, or you get the option to start a new private message. Up here is team activity. This is going to show you everybody's activity, right? What everybody has done for every single account for all the time. And this team activity page functions as a few different ways. First off, it is kind of like a social media tool. You notice that you can like, comment, and share those activities too. So the sharing portion will just send you an external link. Somebody else not in your outfield team can open it up as well. But as you can see, Mike Wheeler can go around liking, maybe dropping some comments as well. But this is also a great learning tool. And what I mean by that is our filters button. There are a few filters you can apply. The first one is your activity or the team's activity, the time range. But most importantly, at the bottom are my types of activities and my forms as well. Now, when it comes to types of activities, we can select any of them we want. Same thing with forms. So when somebody new comes into your team, and let's say you've been using Outfield for a while now, they can jump straight into the team activity page and can see how people are doing check-ins, how they're doing phone calls, the deals they're making, how are they filling out forms, what notes are they writing about. This is going to be a fantastic place for anybody new to kind of learn how your organization uses Outfield. Moving up from this is going to be our drafts page. So this is where your saved drafts are going to go. To continue a draft, you tap on it. You tap the 3 dots at the top right of my screen. And from here, you can either delete the draft or edit the draft, right, to continue it. One thing to note, though, is if you don't have a draft saved, is this page will not appear on the sidebar. So don't freak out if you don't see it. That will just let you know there's no draft saved here. And here is the fun part of Outfield. It is league play. Now, what is league play? It is a game inside of Outfield. It's going to run on a weekly basis, and sort of each league is going to run for a calendar quarter, so anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks, where you have these weekly matchups, and to win these matchups, you need to earn the most amount of performance points. And to earn performance points, you just have to use Outfield. There's no secret behind it. There's a few different pages here. Our first page is our matchups page showing who's against who's in the lead. So Mike is against Lucas. He's at 74. Lucas is at 0. Our second page here, and they're all at the bottom, is our standings page showing you how well everybody's doing this calendar quarter. Mike Wheeler, he is 8-0. He's probably going to win this league, right? Closest one is Jim Hopper at 3-1-4. Everybody else, right? 0 wins so far. Our third tab is showing you leaderboard, how well everybody's doing this week in terms of performance points. Mike Wheeler, once again, at 76 points. Underneath him, we actually see another Mike Wheeler. That's a shadow from last week. So your shadow is going to be how many performance points you made the week prior. So you always be able to compete against yourself, see if you can always improve from week to week, as well as, seeing how the rest of your team is going along. And last but not least, our fourth page here is my profile card. It's going to have your profile picture, the title, the team that you're on one side. On the flip side, if you collected, sports cards before, when they show off their stats, right, it's going to look something similar to this. Now, most importantly, on the back end are actually my hustle, diligence, preparation, and leadership boxes in the center here, because these are the four categories in which you can earn performance points. So to break them down for you, hustles are going to be activities, check-ins, phone calls, text messaging, emails, deals, tasks, notes, right? Those will all give you performance points. Diligence is the thoroughness of your hustle. So when you are doing a check-in or any type of activity, are you throwing in notes? Are you putting in a title? Are you filling out forms when you can? Just have as much information as possible so when somebody else checks out your accounts or your activity, they know exactly what you've done in the past. We have preparation. This is just making sure you're prepared in ahead of time. This is making counter events and tasks. And last but not least is leadership. This is going to be both the social side of Outfield. So this is using our chatting features, liking, commenting on activities, but it will also be on the league play side of Outfield. So Mike Wheeler, right? He's at 81 points. And let's say he earns the most amount of points for this week. Now, Mike Wheeler, will start the very next week off with some bonus performance points. And this entire, performance points, this league play thing, this can all be set up from your admins. They can actually tweak around the scoring. They can make, performance leagues. So if your organization has a lot of different rows, they can put your rows in different leagues just to make sure everything is fair. And the final thing I wanted to cover about League Play is the achievements. It's next to my flip button down here at the bottom, where we do have a trophy case that you can take a look at. Now, we've got some preset achievements, but admins in your team can make custom achievements too. And any achievement that's in color, like my Gold League Championship up here, this is an achievement I've unlocked. It's going to throw confetti everywhere, right? It's going to tell me exactly what I did to earn it and how many times I've earned it. Any achievements that are grayed out, so let's say Hall of Fame level, I can tap on it to see what I need to earn it, which is earning 500,000 career performance points. And then we don't have too much left to cover inside of Outfield. I'm going to open up the sidebar again. Here, underneath kind of the quick widget of League Play at the top is this 80% here. This is team member goals. This is different from account-based goals. These are specifically for Mike Wheeler, and he's got to do 5 check-ins every single week. Right now, he's 80% there, ahead of pace, right? It's going to give you a quote, and these quotes will depend on, whether you're behind pace, on pace, or ahead of pace. And when you're done, it will throw confetti everywhere and celebrate with you. This is very different from account-based goals, right? Even if Mike Wheeler, let's say, does 500 check-ins this week, if none of them were at that account where that goal was, that account-based goal will not be completed. And then just our bottom 2 pages, right? Just team members showing you who else is on your team, and the settings page. This is where you can change some of your settings as well. But everybody, that was going to be everything I did want to cover on today's mobile app training call. We have a Q&A, so if you have any questions, you can go ahead and throw them in. If not, we will end this call shortly then.